Hey, what is going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to do a full weapon ranking of all the guns in Fortnite Project Era Season 7. Now, one of the pieces of feedback you guys have given me is that my rankings aren't super representative of keyboard and mouse because I have to do a lot of guesswork to determine if a gun, like the Scope AR or Thermal AR, is going to be significantly better on keyboard than controller. So, in today's video, I brought on Rocco, who's a keyboard and mouse player, to come help me do this. So, thank you for coming on. There'll be a link to his channel in the pinned comment. And the second thing is, I'm trying out putting the tier ranking in the corner of the video and just playing gameplay front and center, because you don't necessarily need to see the tier ranking like on your entire screen. You can really just have it in a little window so you can look at it if you ever get lost. So let me know what you think about that. I can always go back to the old format if you guys prefer it that way, and let's get right into it. Alrighty, starting off with the tac shotgun. For a long time I've been putting it B tier, and I still think in Season 7 it's B tier. It hasn't received any major changes, but the two biggest problems are still the shotgun delay, number one, which restricts your rate of fire if you shoot, build a wall and shoot, and number two, the draw speed is much slower than the pump. So while it's a decent choice and it can work, I don't think it's really competitive, especially when we start getting to the purple and gold spaz, but not the worst option either.
Very true. I keep it at B.
Alrighty.
Well, it's pump. The green and blue rarity is good when you are off spawn and you're fighting in tilted, and that's like the best shotgun to use. But at the very same time, there's people that know how to edit, they know how to build faster than you, and you really gotta try to aim with that gun because the spread isn't really that big in like the attack. So you gotta really aim really well. It's a great gun for off spawn, but it does not compete with spaz. B.
B? Okay. I think it would be A tier, and the reason why I'd say that is yes, it did get a range nerf from Season 6 to Season 7, but I don't think I would quite put it B because the blue pump has the ability to one-shot you, and also you can two-shot to the body. I think with the green pump I'd agree it's B, but I really think the pump is at least a tier better than the attack. I can see the point, but I feel like as you get better, the pump is just going to become better than the attack because of the faster draw speed. So
That's true.
I would put it A, but I could see your argument for B as well.
Yeah, I could put it A.
All right, A. All right.
Yeah, it's
next
just
up,
me that I'm garbage with it, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's kind of why we're doing this because I think it's important to have two perspectives on it, especially because you're a keyboard, I'm a controller. So
Yes.
the spaz, this might be something that people won't agree with, but I would argue the spaz is the definition of an X tier gun.
Oh,
And the
definitely.
reason why I'd say that is because the two candidates that come to mind as X tier are the old drum gun and the old P90. And I really do think the spaz could keep up with both of those guns. The draw speed is incredibly fast. You can one-shot people, double them to the body. I do think it is a definition of an X tier gun. The draw speed will get nerfed next season. Maybe it'll go down to S then. But honestly, I think it is a definition of a broken gun. Yes, it's high skill, but just because a gun's high skill doesn't necessarily mean it's not broken.
Yes, very true. I love that it's consistently 105 or 110 all the time, and you can really hit those nasty shots when you're building. So it's a great gun for building and a great gun for close combat. So it's X. The regular R is great. I love it. A tier.
Alrighty, this is interesting. A tier. See, this is the thing. Like, I usually put the AR B tier because it's a decent gun, but then do we put because the Scar is definitely a decent jump from the AR. So then are we putting the Scar
That's
F
true.
tier?
Nah, hold on. I forgot. C tier, around there. I want to go back to C because right after I heard your argument, I agree.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, what I was gonna say is I was gonna leave it B. I think C is too low because like C is like a gun that's like okay. I feel like the AR is a decent choice, like the TAC, but I really do think between your two opinions, A and C, I really think B is the right choice. It's good, but it's not like exceptional, you know.
Yeah, okay. I get it.
All right, and then Scar, I would put it one tier higher. I think it's a very solid choice, A tier. It's a strong gun, but it's also not a gun that I would say is like exceptionally great, but strong. It doesn't need a nerf. I would just put it A.
That's very true. The silent scar, I have to say S. Since I know I play controller a lot with Arrow right now, since I started using it. So the suppress when you shoot it like not consistently, the spread will go really apart. But when you're using your controller with the L2 method that you're doing, it shreds people. with no like it's like consistently headshot and headshot, and there's not much spread when you do the L2 method with the silent scar. Like when you use the regular scar, I've seen that the spread moves a lot when you do L2 method, but with the silent scar, I do not. But probably because I haven't played controller for a while, so it probably is a myth. Not a myth, but a misconception.
Well, no,
But
what
I
are you
say
saying?
S.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, what you're saying is totally right. In the previous seasons, L2 was really strong. This season, L2 is very inconsistent. Now, this is interesting because originally I would put it B tier. I could see the argument for A. I mean, I could see it going a little bit higher. It's not as
I'm
effective
fine with
close
A.
range, but the first shot accuracy reset, like you say, very quick and it's very accurate at range. So I probably could see the argument to go to A. Um, but the problem is we also have the Scar and the AK. Is it as good? Maybe, depending
That's
on your
true.
playstyle. I mean, honestly, I would put it B, but I think I could see A as a compromise position. What do you think about that?
No, I'm fine with A.
All right, let's put it A. All right, infantry rifle. Now, look, I'm gonna be coming at this from a controller perspective. I haven't played keyboard for a long time. Controller, the infantry rifle is borderline F tier, but I would probably put it D. And the reason why
It
is because when you aim in to try and get any L2 snapping, aim assist will stick you onto the target, but you need to lead the target to hit things with the infantry rifle. So on controller, it's borderline useless. But I'm curious to say what you'll say because you're on keyboard, so maybe it'll be a
when
bit
I
better for you.
when I well with my ping, it's kind of crap. I love the infantry. The damage is so good with headshots. You could really shred people with and get really good knocks. But with my ping, it takes a little bit of time for the bullet to register and hit them. So it kind of like the bullet is super slow when it comes to hitting people. So I keep it at D.
All right, D,
Like
yeah.
I love it. The damage is great, but it only has 8 bullets, and with my ping, it just makes it useless. The AK, I personally love it way better than the Scar. It does 78 in the head, and it consistently does 44 body shot. I may be just a fanboy for the heavy since when I first played the original Fortnite when season 7 came out. It was one of my favorites and it still is. But I will probably put it at A tier and not just put it all straight to S since it is has really bad spread. But what I do is just single shot each time, and I don't just spray with the heavy because the spread is insane amount. You never want to spray with the heavy AR. But when you consistently just keep on tapping on your mouse, it's great.
Yeah, I think I agree with that perfectly. I think A tier is the right spot. I think it's very competitive with the Scar. As you're saying, it's very good at long range, not so good at close. So running without an
Hmm.
SMG can be a little bit dangerous. But I think A is a great place. It's a strong gun, but it's not a clear choice over the Scar. You could pick either one.
Yes.
Let's move on to scope AR. So again, I'm coming at this from a controller perspective. I usually been putting it C. It's not a terrible gun, but it's also not great because again, if you use L2 with scopes, that's very difficult to do properly. So controller is probably D, but I recognize mouse and keyboard might be a bit better. So for me, I put it C, but I'm curious to see what you think.
I would put it at C too.
Okay.
It's a really good gun. It works, but the damage wise is like terrible compared to the regular AR, the gray AR, because it only does 23 body shot, and the gray AR does 36, I believe, or 33. It's way
Yeah.
better, and also it only holds 20 bullets, and it's not great with long range, even though it's a scoped AR. So I'll keep it at C. The thermal, it's great for seeing through people's builds to see if anyone is in there, but I would keep it at C as well, considering there's only 15 bullets and it's loud. But the damage wise is pretty good. It's like the same, almost the same kind of headshot damage as the Scar, but considering it's a scoped AR and it's not really fast for shooting, I would keep it at C with the scoped assault rifle as well.
Okay, yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Previously, I've been ranking it D, But I have heard some opinions about it being higher, also yours. I think C is the right place. I don't think it's really necessarily worse in the scope they are. They're both just kind of meh guns. If
They
they,
both have their advantages.
yeah, yeah, I think that's a good place because like the AK is doing almost the same damage at range, and the thermal's completely useless at close range. So I think C is a
Oh
good
yeah.
place.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to the silence SMG.
Oh, that's a good one.
Previously, I have been putting most of the SMGs in B, but I almost could see the argument for A now. I actually think the Silence SMG is the better choice in the P90, but that's really personal preference. I'm still tempted to put it B because do I think it's as good as the Scar AK? The damage fall off is quite severe, but I could see the argument for A for the SMGs. I'm curious to see what you think, but I think I'd say
Uh,
B for now.
this SMG is far better than the P90 by damage wise.
Mm-hmm.
Because it does well. I don't know if it's good by damage wise is for building, but it's very good for close range as a close SMG
Mm-hmm.
weapon. And I would rather take a suppressed SMG than the P90. Well, from our last few games, I own the guy that got 2 HP. I was
Mm-hmm.
using the suppressed SMG, and it did like it shredded him. But I would consider it at B, but I would aim a little bit higher to A since it's a little bit more headshot damage wise than the P90.
Yeah, I think I could see B or A.
You can keep it at B.
Yeah, I think B is
You can
right.
keep it
I
B.
mean, it's a good option. It's also like relative because like the tack, like even though it's probably the same power level in a vacuum, because the spaz exists, the tack is pretty bad. But because the silence is very good with this competition, yeah, I think B is
Hmm.
probably right.
Yeah, we can keep it at B. All right, the P90, great gun when it first started out. 50 rounds, it shredded through builds, but it had a massive nerf in season 5 through 6.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see it in season 7, it's still a very good gun for shredding through builds. I don't know. I would keep it at B. I would put it at B with the Silence SMG, considering it's like a higher rarity SMG than the silencer. But I don't know. P90 and silencers are very hard like comparison since they both have almost the same amount of damage wise
Mm-hmm.
and spread and destroying builds. But the P90 is great for shredding through builds this season since everyone is building 90s all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think B is right. I think both the silence and the P90 are honestly pretty close. You could
It's
pick either
it's
one.
super hard to like pick which one you really want. P90 is great for shooting through builds, and then the suppressed SMG is great for close combat.
Yeah, I think they're both great choices. I think they're both B tier guns. They're both good,
Mm-hmm.
strong options, but they're not really broken by any means.
Yeah.
So I think that's right. All right, hunting rifle. I've been ranking it B. I still think it's probably a B tier gun. It's a
Yeah.
solid choice, no doubt. Is
Mm-hmm.
it as good as the Scar, the pump, the A tier gun? Maybe
I
not, but I think
I
that's a good
would
choice.
I would consider it as a B
Okay,
rarity.
yeah.
It doesn't do much body shot, but it's
Mm-hmm.
very good for like when you're building up to a player and you're having a whole base around you, and it's really good to zoom up on your opponent and see what they're doing before they shoot it back at you. So it's very good for zooming up on your opponent before they even know what you're gonna do. And it's also very good with headshot, but it's very hard to aim since there's no scope.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a B. It's a B tier. I love the hunting rifle. All right, the silence. I really don't know. It's a hard one since it only does 100 damage body shot, but I the reload speed is very slow as well, and so is the heavy. I really don't know. Probably B. It does do high damage to opponents and headshot damage, but it doesn't do much like build damage as the hunting rifle and the heavy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
It's
think
hard. It's
B
hard
is a good
to
choice.
it's hard to know because I haven't used it in a while since I've been busy, but I did play a few games today with the suppressed, and I was doing pretty good with it. So I would probably put it around B.
I think B is the right choice. It's definitely a good, viable option. Um, it's basically the bolt action. You get a little less damage, but you get a silencer.
Hmm.
Honestly, it's basically the same gun. I think it's a good choice. I think you're right. It's a good choice, competitive with the hunting, but nothing
Especially,
broken.
oh, I forgot to say, it's very good for long range since this is a suppressor.
That's true. Yeah.
Remind me of that. And it's very good for like sneaking up on your opponent and they don't know where you shot it from because it's suppressed and it's a little dense audio.
Hmm.
Since like the heavy is like loud, you
Yeah.
know where it came from, and the hunting rifle has that ricochet sound as well when it hits the builds.
Hmm.
So you know like where it's going. But the suppressed is like super quiet and
Yeah.
you can really barely hear it. It's really good for long range. So yeah, B
Yeah. I
tier.
think B is good. All right. Now the heavy sniper, I do think it is an A tier sniper. I do think it's a step above the hunting and silent sniper.
Oh,
Simply
very
because,
true.
well, really two reasons. One, you can 150 people to the body, so if they only have 150 health, all you got to do is hit a body shot and they're done. And number two,
Hmm.
being able to one shot walls is a pretty big advantage. You just jump in their box, one shot their wall, and they're done at that point if they're not actively ready for it. So I do think the heavy sniper is a step above. Doesn't mean the hunting rifle and silence aren't viable choices too, but I do think it's overall a little bit better.
Oh yeah, the heavy is one of the best options for a sniper. 313 in the head. That's crazy. I love the heavy. All right, for the dual pistols. They are very good for close range and damage, but never use them in long range since they have very, like, the bullet tracking is really bad with the dual pistols for long range since it's
Mm-hmm.
pistols. But 86 in the head for the purple variant. That is crazy amount of headshot damage for a pistol. Or two, technically two, but 46 and 86 for headshot and body. That's crazy amount of damage. They do good around with the building, but it doesn't do very good with long range. I would put it at B tier.
I can see the argument for B. Now, I would agree in a vacuum if it was just like by itself and you couldn't switch guns, it would be B because you're right, the damage is pretty insane and the DPS is not bad either. The one big problem with the dual pistols is the draw speed is so slow. So if you go pump to dual pistols, it takes significantly longer to fire than pump to SMG. So for that reason, I was previously putting it C tier, but I could see the argument. I would be willing to go to B because uh, if you can get around that draw speed, you are right. The damage is pretty ridiculous. So I think I could
All
go to
right,
B.
we can go to B.
All right. Scope revolver. The scope revolver is just it's just not good. I mean, on controller, it's borderline F tier again because any scope weapon, besides the snipers, it's not going to work that great because it doesn't synergize too well with L2. I think I would put it D. I think the damage is 42-44, which is like not even really much better than the AK at range, so I don't really see a reason to carry this thing. So I do think it's D.
It's
It's not completely
it's
useless,
D.
but it's bad.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. So we're good with D?
Yeah,
Okay.
silence pistol. I gotta say around C tier. Like it's a great gun for off spawn, but if you keep it with you, it doesn't do great damage wise compared to the dual pistols and like the ARs, and it does less body damage to the compared to the SMGs. So it's kind of useless in other areas, but it's good off spawn. So around C tier.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said. There's not much more to add. It's a decent choice, but I don't really see people taking it over the SMG if you really want to be super competitive. Okay, pistol is pretty much the same conversation. It's just worse. Doing less than 25 damage. You need 5 shots early game to take someone out instead of 4, so that's a pretty big difference, honestly. It's pretty bad. It's not F tier, but it's not good either.
Yeah, I agree. All right, the hand cannon. It got a massive nerf to builds. So I would put it at A tier or probably S tier if it still had the same statistics as last season.
Mm-hmm.
But consider the nerf for the builds, I would probably put it at B.
Yeah, that's
But
exactly what I was thinking.
it's so good. But with headshot damage, 158, I think, or 56, I can't remember, and
Hmm.
78 considering how far you are. It's so good for destroying wood builds still, but it's very hard to shoot the builds with brick and metal since it doesn't do one shot anymore. But it's very good uh pistol and damage wise, but still good, still good.
Yeah, I think you got it spot on. Season 5, I was putting it C before the buffs to the long range damage and the structure damage. Then I think it was
Hmm.
S in Season 6. I think B is a good place now. It like you're saying, it's a decent choice. It does a lot of damage, but basically, if they switch to metal, you're basically hard countered. You can't one shot anything anymore. So
Hmm.
while it's a decent option, yeah, I think B is right. It's no longer this gun that like you should be absolutely be carrying. Now the minigun, it's an interesting conversation. Some people would argue got nerfed because you can't fire it indefinitely, but I would argue it's better because one, it winds up faster, and two, you can use this thing as an anti-air gun against
Oh,
planes, and you
very
can
true.
shred them in 4 to 5 seconds. So I would put it B now.
Hmm.
I think it's a decent choice. I think it's
Yeah,
actually better in the season.
yeah, it is better than last season. I completely agree, and it's pretty bad if you don't have enough ammo.
Hmm.
Considering it's not a mag, it's like an actual like giant minigun.
Yeah.
So it's good for destroying builds and shooting people down, their structures, but it's a B tier. I got nothing. You kind of already did everything.
Hmm.
I completely agree. RPG, I barely get to see this in season 7 right now. I would if it was still like could I like if I could get it around in the supply drop still, I barely get any, but I would put it at C
Okay.
since I don't see it at all and I don't use it that much because I can't find it. It's like invisible. You can never find. I can find the infantry rifle more than every gun. Like
Hmm. Yeah.
every chest I open is an infantry rifle, and I never see an RPG at all. The only thing I see more than an RPG now is the grenade launcher, and that's the only thing that I see.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. I've seen the RPG, I think, twice out of the entire time I've been playing. Now, I wouldn't put it C because even though you can't find it, that doesn't necessarily mean it's
I
bad.
know it doesn't mean it's
Uh,
bad. That's
yeah,
probably
it
bad
did get a reload nerf,
tiering for
so
me.
that is
Hmm.
something to think about. I would probably still say it's A tier if you can find it, but like you
Hmm.
said, you find it never. So really, it shouldn't even be in this ranking because you don't find it. But yeah, I think A
Hmm.
tier is good.
Yeah.
Okay, grenade launcher. I think the grenade launcher is still a B tier option. It's still good if you want to run it, but it's also not.
Hmm.
It's not amazing either. If at long range, it's completely useless. So you have to be at least medium range. So it's a decent choice, but not anything super strong either.
Yeah. It does take a while for it to explode, like shooting it on builds,
Hmm.
but it's very good. All right, the dynamite. I don't really know. I probably put it around C
Yeah.
because it does do a lot of build damage, like
Hmm.
insane amount of area it destroys. Like it's very good for locating people in buildings, but it doesn't do very good in damage wise, only doing like 50 or 60 damage, I think.
Hmm.
But and it takes forever for it to blow up.
Yeah.
But it's still good for destroying builds. So I'll put it around C tier.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I think a lot of these utility items are just kind of okay. They're decent early game. You might carry them and blow up an entire house, which is fun. But like, are you really gonna carry dynamite into the end game when you could be taking an SMG or a sniper? I really don't think so. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no.
all right. C, grenades, honestly, D to C, maybe C. They're all right. I mean, early
Hmm.
game, they
If
can
you
blow
have a
things
whole
up.
like, if you have like 10 of them, and you're at the end game, they're
Yeah,
probably very useful. But yeah, probably put around D,
yeah,
since
I could go
they're
D.
not really. They're
They're
not
just
that
meh.
powerful anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
The
It's just
clingers
okay.
though, the clingers are pretty good since it goes on and sticks on people's builds, and then you can also stick it on people, And then
Uh-huh.
what's funny is that what you could do with clingers is that you could put it on your teammate. They'll run up to the enemy with like three of them on them, and then just
Uh-huh.
blow the enemies up. It's pretty fun.
Hmm.
But without the memeing, I would put it around C tier.
Yeah, I
Considering it
agree.
does like really build
Mhm.
damage wise, like the dynamite, and it sticks on that specific build. So you can like aim the clinger at a specific area that you want to blow up and probably kill your opponent.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. See, it's all right. Yeah, would I carry an end game? No, but like you're
No.
saying, you can have some joke strategies with it, and it's all right. The bottle rockets, I think this is F tier.
F.
This is just a
That's
joke.
just straight F.
I mean, I can't think of
It-
any usage beyond harassing people. I mean, you could harass people, but that's all that this
I done it
does.
before.
Yeah.
It's fun, but it only does 10 damage. It's kind of useless.
Yeah, if
And
you're
that's
carrying
like,
this,
it does 15 damage to the builds, I think. But it does kind of do pretty good against builds, but it's pretty terrible.
yeah, it's a joke.
The stink bombs, I don't know really. Like I don't really use them that much, but they are very good when you have your teammate like hiding in a box and you have them in your inventory and you could just um stink them to death really, since they're probably low.
Hmm.
So I would probably put that in D tier, considering no one is gonna take stink bombs in the end game, and they only do 5 damage. And most of the time, your teammate moves around, or not your teammate, the enemy moves around a bunch, and probably is running away from the guy since it's you can see it, and it's kind of a useless item. But when they're boxed up and trying to heal, it's perfect.
Yeah, I think I would go C. I don't think they're quite like pistol level bad. The one thing is if someone's turtling, you can throw these and you can force them out of their box.
That's true.
I could see D. They're not great, but I feel like they're like at the level of dynamite or clingers to being like okay. I would
Yeah,
probably go
I would
C.
that they are pretty good considering how many you hold. So yeah, C tier.
Okay,
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
Um, okay, now spike traps. It just depends on how you play and how good you are. Like if you're new to the game, they're probably D tier, but if you're really good, they could
Hmm.
be A.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to say. I mean, I would probably go between B and A. Maybe
I
B because
really,
not everyone can use them super well if you're not insanely good.
it's
So I feel
true.
like B is probably the good choice. But I'm curious to see what you think.
I don't really use traps that much. Like they're kind of good if you know how to use it, especially when you're having a build fight and you box up someone and you put your trap on the your wall and then they're stuck and they can't really react fast enough since there's a trap and like, oh no, what do I do? I can't edit because this is not my build, and they can die like really easily.
Hmm.
But I don't really have I don't I'm not that skilled with the traps, so I
Hmm.
would put it around B tier.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good compromise between, like how good you are, how effective they'll be. Yeah.
Hmm. The turret is so much fun shooting down planes, but in an actual battle, it's very, very useless considering there's snipers that can, because you're sitting still.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a mountain turret. You can't move anywhere except for your head, and that's like the best place to kill someone with a sniper. And they're kind of useless when you're fighting people with snipers, but if you're using it in the late game and you have a whole bunch of them, it is very fun. But I would put it around D tier since you don't really carry them like for a while, or you like forget that you have it,
Mm-hmm.
because some people do that. They forget that they have a mountain turret that they could use. But I would put it around D since it's not really that useful sometimes in the late game. Since everyone has snipers and actual really good ARs, they could just spray you while you're just not knowing where you're being shot at, and you'd be knocked in like a few seconds.
Yeah, I think D is right. That they're situationally like I had one scenario where I was like in a bush, like a bush with a turret. You could stop them from getting sniped, so they can like be useful in like 1 in 100 scenarios. But I think I agree with you. They're D. I mean, honestly, I dropped them out
Hmm.
of my inventory before the end game because they get in the way.
Yeah.
It's bad. The one other use I saw someone say is you could like put it inside someone's box to stop them from building a cone, which is situationally maybe useful, but they're just
That's
overall
not,
not good.
but that's not. Well, if you're thinking about it, your enemy can literally go into your own turret and shoot you, and they're in your own box that you box them up. So that would probably be a bad idea. But if you're fighting someone that is like doesn't have like that fast reflex, yes, that is very good considering that they cannot build, and they probably will start building thinking that they can like build a stair, and they won't. So you have a an advantage of shooting them in the head with your shotgun or whatever
Hmm.
you're using.
Yeah, so I think D is a good pick. It's bad. There are a couple uses we could think of, but they're just bad overall.
They're pretty bad.
Alrighty, and that's the end of our weapon ranking. Thank you for making this far. I mean, you made it to a 30-minute video, which I applaud you for that. I hope this was helpful and enjoyable to you. Please, feel free to leave feedback in the comments. Do you like this kind of format where I'm talking to somebody else while doing this, or would you prefer me to do it solo? Do you like the gameplay with the mini window of the ranking, or would you rather have it the old way? Please feel free to let me know, and of course, I will see you in the next Gamer Coach video.